Evidence from the trial of Yolanda Saldivar and new evidence hidden in a storage unit by Yolanda's family suggests that maybe the public has had the narrative of the relationship between Yolanda and Selena wrong this whole time. But why reveal it now? Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Historians Cafe. I am bringing you a review of the newest documentary series, Selena and Yolanda, The Secrets Between Them. And I have got to tell you, it is a head scratcher. I mean, it made me question why the public was so quick to judge Yolanda. I mean, I was right there with them as a child, thinking the same thing. But to clear it up, the purpose of the documentary and the purpose of this episode really is not to suggest that Yolanda did not pull a trigger. We all know she did. In fact, in the interview, she completely takes full responsibility for taking the life of Selena. The purpose is to shed light on the narrative, to give context to the story and the months leading up to March 31st, 1995. Now, here is a narrative that has been fed for us. So, March 31st, 1995, a beloved music star most popular to the Latino community, Selena Quintanilla, was fatally killed outside the Days Inn Hotel in Corpus Christi, Texas. The staff watched in horror as they witnessed Selena running into the lobby of the hotel room where she collapsed and allegedly speaking the final words of Yolanda Saldivar, room 158. She was pronounced dead almost immediately after arriving at the hospital. Hours after the incident, Selena's father does a press conference placing a story in everyone's mind that Yolanda was a disgruntled employee who took the life of Selena, while media was portraying her as a crazy fan whose obsession was taken way too far. Now, look, there's this evidence presented to us in the documentary. There's a love letter, there's an affair, there's flights to Monterrey, Mexico, there's an investor/lover. In the story, somehow there's recordings, there's Yolanda wanting to leave, and there's a resignation letter sent to Selena. There's the March 9th meeting. I mean, there's a lot. So we're gonna go over it as quickly as possible. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I mean, look, guys, I am torn and confused. I no longer know what to believe. Yolanda seems very believable. As hard as it is to hear that and swallow what I just said, she seems believable. Now, Yolanda's family does present some interesting primary sources revealing a relationship between Selena and Yolanda that does kind of support what Yolanda is saying in the documentary. So, can accidents happen in a moment of a mental breakdown? Absolutely. I am leaning toward it being an accident. I mean, what do you think? Respectfully, leave your comments in the area down below. I mean, when we look at what Larry Young, the hostage negotiator for Corpus Christi PD at the time, was saying, now he is a primary source because he was there, right? He was trying to negotiate with Yolanda, trying to get her to put the gun down so she would not take her own life. He was saying that we were not there, that we don't know everything, she was saying. And according to him and his experience in his line of work, he says, you know, when someone is lying, they take their time to think it out and what they're going to say. He felt that everything Yolanda was saying was genuine and truthful, and that she said she didn't mean to do it. Everything was flowing out of her. Everything was naturally flowing out of her, and it made him believe her. So we have to remember that we were not there during that one-on-one time between them. We can only speculate from afar. And then the interview of the documentary, her words, you know, like he said, everything was just flowing. She was providing details about what happened. She didn't seem to stop and think about her words. Everything was flowing out. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of torn, you know. A part of me is like, I want to continue to believe the narrative that was presented to us from Selena's father and the media, because Selena seemed to be such like a great person, a good friend, and was beautiful and all that. But I mean, we shouldn't think like that. You know, we need to stand between the two pillars. We need to see this from both sides, give both sides a chance. So that's how I listened and watched this documentary. I made sure that I was standing between the two pillars. Now, mind you, as a very young girl, I was very young when this happened. I was like 5, living in Texas at the time. I'm a Latina myself. I was all about Selena after she died because the public made it seem like she was such a goddess. Like, how could she have passed away? There's no way. So I guess I wanted to be a part of that story too, of showing the love of Selena's spirit, if you will. So I was Selena obsessed for a little while, and then I grew up. So for me to scratch my head and go, this is interesting. Maybe this woman isn't a monster after all. She made a mistake, yes, but perhaps it was accidental. You know, that way of thinking for me, to the people who knew me then, that would be a shocker to hear coming from my mouth. Like, what? Me, who was such a huge fan when she was young? No way. Yes way. Like I think I'm leaning toward Yolanda, which is crazy, I know. Now look, when you think about the public, um, at the time when all this happened, the public didn't have context. We didn't really have a concrete story. That's true. We took what the media and Selena's father gave us and we ran with it because it was a tragedy. But was it right for us to think like that? Is it fair to say, well, she pulled the trigger, therefore she's a monster? I'm thinking no. The prosecutor stated in the documentary twice, he stated, I don't think I've ever listened to what she said. End quote. And then he stated, quote, I've been telling you all along this is a simple murder case, end quote. Okay, so she admitted to buying the gun, therefore her intention was to use it on Selena. She admitted to pulling the trigger, therefore she's a monster and a murderer, the end. Look, let's stop and think about this, guys. If this was your loved one, your mom, your sister, your daughter, your aunt, whatever, and they are being labeled a monster for killing someone, would you go along with that without knowing exactly the story? Would you join the crowd with their torches and pitchforks ready to burn the monster that is your family? Or would you stop and think, well, what's the context? What's the story here? I need the meat, right? Wouldn't you be interested in knowing everything leading up to that tragedy to understand why our loved one had a weapon in the first place and what prompted the use of that weapon? I mean, the documentary goes into all of that and you can watch it and decide for yourself. Again, all this is speculation. Now, Selena's father recently commented on the documentary stating that he wants nothing to do with Yolanda. Now, I don't think the purpose of this documentary is to get involved with him, honestly. This is just her telling her side, right? And he states that everything she says is a lie and no one will believe her anyway. Well, it looks like because of the boxes of evidence, piecing together the relationship between Selena and Yolanda, people are beginning to question on, whether or not this was accidental or intentional. Did we have it wrong all along? Like I said, I'm leaning toward that maybe we did. I mean, there is just so much boxes of information hidden in that storage unit. There is no way she was just this simple, crazy, obsessed fan. I mean, clearly Selena and Yolanda had a very close friendship. Now, mind you, I don't know if we saw all of the evidence in the boxes, but the audience gets to hear some things that were never heard before from Yolanda and Selena in recordings. So watch it. It is a 2-part documentary. Let me know what you think. I watched it on Peacock, so if you have a Peacock account, you'll be able to see it. Now, as far as the evidence, let's look at the claim that Selena was having an affair with an investor and successful surgeon. So to give context to the story, according to Selena, the movies and sources, Selena's father was someone who was very intimidating. You did not want to get on his bad side. Well, apparently he was very controlling of Selena's career, and Selena wanted to branch out and expand her career into the fashion industry. The documentary tells us that Selena branched out on her own without telling her father because she wanted to have a career of her own. She needed to have some control over her life. And with the help of Yolanda, Selena was able to create her own fashion boutique and perfume line and so forth. And when her father got wind of this, he was furious and apparently, according to Yolanda and sources, tried to bully Yolanda into telling him everything that Selena was doing. When she wouldn't budge, Sources say he tried to scare Yolanda into telling him the truth and maybe even possibly to, just scare her off altogether. Because without Yolanda, Selena could not run her other businesses alone. They would fail. And she would be forced to focus on only her singing career. Well, apparently, Selena and her father were frequently arguing over her other business. In order for her to begin this business, she contacted a successful surgeon in Monterrey, Mexico, to invest in her business. He provided her with the materials, locations, and etc. Now, as their business relationship grew, apparently, so did their fondness for each other. According to the surgeon, Yolanda and a tiny little love letter discovered in a box in the storage unit, Selena had an affair with the surgeon, and they were apparently very much in love. So Selena and Yolanda would sometimes fly to Monterrey to see the surgeon. Now, when Selena's businesses were starting to fall, no more money was coming in. Selena needed to see her investors, see her lover. I don't quite know how to word that. This is where, according to Yolanda, the plane tickets and the quote-unquote embezzlement came in. Now, Selena needed the money to fly them to Monterrey. It was, according to Yolanda, Selena's idea to write 2 checks to herself, deposit or cash them, and use the money to travel to Mexico and to pay the investor. Now, remember, this is all speculation. So there's that. Then there is the March 9th meeting, the discussion about the embezzlement. And the witness in the meeting, noticing that Selena could not look at Yolanda and that Yolanda kept looking over at Selena, giving her a look of, please help me type of look on her face. Why would Yolanda be looking at Selena with an expression that said, save me? Now, it was during that meeting that Yolanda became afraid of Selena's father. She, according to her, felt threatened. She began to think that maybe she should resign. She's not being saved here. Selena's not coming forward with what they're really doing. She feels threatened. Why should she stay? She claims that she could not get a word in during that meeting because Selena's father just wouldn't let her talk. He was busy hounding her, I guess. Also, she's intimidated. I know when I'm in a confrontation and the person is intimidating, I cannot find the words to say anything. That's called fear and anxiety. I mean, we have to look at this on every angle. So as she's being hounded by this person, she's becoming afraid, anxiety's kicking in. She's going to have a hard time trying to explain herself, right? If and when she gets the moment to do so. Now there's that. That's the March 9th meeting. Then there's the recordings. So the meeting happened. Yolanda allegedly says she's done, discusses the meeting with her parents, and her parents are afraid for her. They ask her to come stay with them. They pack up most of her stuff, put it in their trailer, and they head out. Meanwhile, she's been applying for RN positions, and on the answering machine that was left at her home, it picks up a voicemail from someone calling to book an interview for her, with her for an RN position she had applied for. That checks out that she was looking to move on and to get away from Selena and everything happening with her, right? But then other messages are revealed during that time that Yolanda was gone. Messages from Selena wondering where she is and that she needs to talk with her. So Selena leaves more than 2 messages. If Selena was afraid of Yolanda or believed that Yolanda had embezzled money from her fan club or whatever, then why would she still trust her enough to try and get her to stay and manage the boutiques and so forth? Why would she trust Yolanda enough to send her back to Monterrey, Mexico for her? That just doesn't make sense for me. That was one of the things that really did not make sense for me. Moving on. Okay. Now, Yolanda had apparently, according to Selena's husband in a statement read on the documentary stating that Selena had actually received Yolanda's resignation letter and that Selena felt betrayed after receiving that letter. So, look, guys, there's so much that goes into this documentary. I don't know. The evidence coming to light, which looks like Yolanda had given up on showing all the evidence in the boxes. It just seems like, why show it? Like she gave up. Like it doesn't matter anymore. She threw in the towel, feeling like nobody would believe that this was an accident. Why even bother, right? Now, March 31st comes, and she says that she accidentally took Selena's life when Selena said that it was either open or close the hotel door, right? Selena said she was pointing to the door as an action to show to not open or to not close that door. And it was then that she accidentally took her life. Now, perhaps she was holding the gun too tight and she pulled the trigger. I mean, it's highly possible. I'm leaving an open mind. When you're flinging a gun around, you're using it as a pointer and you're in rage or whatever. Yes, accidents happen, and that probably happened, right? I don't know. Again, I'm leaving an open mind. And honestly, if I'm being honest, after watching this documentary, the one thing that keeps popping up in my mind is don't just take the media's word for anything. It's worth asking questions, such as, well, what's the story? What's the context? We need more, because apparently there are prosecutors out there who think that there are quote unquote simple murder cases that are not worth diving deeper into. And to me, that's wrong, but that's just my opinion. Well, guys, I hope that I don't know. It's not very much an enjoyable subject, but I hope that you, in some way, shape, or form, enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share this episode, comment down below with your opinions. Remember to keep it respectful. And until next time, keep loving history and stay curious. Bye.